Sometimes the most dangerous trap isn't the one you see. It's the one written into the story you're already living. Sometimes the trail doesn't go cold. It's frozen. Frozen by the very hands that are supposed to follow it. Tonight, we go inside Salem, Oregon, where the Hollow steps out of the shadows and into daylight, turning a city into their stage. This is Unheard Evidence. The carousel music was the first thing to sour. It had been faint, tucked behind the noise of joggers, strollers, the metallic hiss of the Willamette current dragging against pylons. But when the reflective vest woman stepped closer and dropped her voice, "You're carrying something that doesn't belong to you," every other sound in Daniel's ears blurred. Ash's hand flexed on the case tethered to her wrist. Rourke was moving fast, trench coat fanned by the wind, badge out like a talisman against whatever this was about to become. But Daniel knew. Badges meant nothing here. The Hollow had finally stepped out of the trees. The first shove came not from the woman, but from the crowd. A man in a gray hoodie, face angled low, slammed shoulder first into Ash, hard enough to rock her off the bench. The case jolted against her thigh, cable straining. Daniel lunged up, catching her before she hit the ground. His eyes swept, hoodie pivoting away, slipping through a pair of teenagers with iced coffees, gone before anyone processed it as anything but clumsy foot traffic. Except the tether on Ash's wrist had been twisted. Except the reflective vest woman was still smiling. And except the Tacoma's driver had stepped out, heavy-set, bowl cap low, phone clamped to his ear, as if making a call while his eyes scanned every possible escape lane. This wasn't random. It was orchestrated. "Stay seated," Daniel hissed. Ash shook her head, breath sharp. "They are boxing us. This is a pool." She was right. The vest woman's clipboard had been rotated now. On the underside, a cutout cavity glinted faint metal. Not a firearm. A signal scrambler. Portable. Meant to black out their comms. "Cho!" Rourke's voice snapped through his earpiece, jagged with static. Signals jamming. "Move." And then it fractured. "Move." Drowned in the hollow roar of electronic interference. Daniel knew what that meant. Their comms were dying. And once the crowd realized something more than clumsy shoves was happening, panic would do the Hollow's job for them. The vest woman snapped the scrambler on. Every phone within 30 feet went dark at once. Joggers slowed, confused. Parents with strollers frowned down at lifeless screens. Then the second strike hit. The Tacoma driver didn't go for Daniel or Ash. He went for Rourke, barrel chest colliding with him before the badge could be raised again. Both men slammed into the hood of a parked sedan. Rourke's pistol clattered to the asphalt. Daniel shoved Ash toward the river railing. "Go!" She resisted. "The case!" "Go!" He barked again, yanking her wrist so the tethered case came with. The crowd was breaking now, voices rising, children crying. A woman screamed when she saw Rourke's gun skitter across the ground. It was enough. Enough cover for the hoodie to reappear. Enough distraction for the minivan door to slide wide and a second man step out, lean, eyes flat, holding nothing in his hands but moving with unmistakable intent. Daniel knew the look. Exfiltration. They weren't here to scare. They were here to take. He grabbed the case himself, wrenching it from Ash's tether, loop snapping free under his pull. In one fluid motion he hurled it, not toward the river, not toward their attackers, but straight under the legs of a panicked cyclist who was trying to cut across the grass. The bike wobbled, toppled, and the case slid 15 feet into open ground, now surrounded by chaos. Ash gasped, "What the hell are you doing?" Daniel's voice was steel, forcing them to break cover. And it worked. The vest woman dropped the act entirely. Clipboard scrambler hit the ground. Her stride cut sharp, predatory, eyes fixed on the case. The hoodie man broke right, circling. The lean operator from the van surged forward at a sprint. Three converging. No subtlety. No deniability. For the first time since Willow Creek, the Hollow wasn't shadows. They were actors in plain daylight. And Salem, parents, joggers, students, retirees, became unwilling witnesses. Phones might have been dead, but eyes weren't. Rourke wasn't finished. Blood was streaming from his mouth, his trench coat half torn, but he clawed the pistol back off the pavement, rolled to a knee, and shouted like thunder. "Police!" On the ground now. The command cut the chaos in half. Some civilians ducked, some bolted, but the holo didn't freeze. Vest woman dove. Hoodie lunged. Lean man closed the gap. And Daniel knew this wasn't about control anymore. It was about seconds. Daniel sprinted. Ash followed, ribs screaming but speed unchecked. The case lay between them and the holo, glinting faint where the drizzle had slicked its surface. 2 seconds out. Hoodie man dove first. Daniel hit him mid-A, shoulder driving into his ribcage. The man grunted, staggered, but didn't stop. Vest woman was almost there. Her hand stretched, and then a gunshot cracked. Rourke's .40 barked, echo snapping against the amphitheater concrete. The round hit asphalt an inch from her outstretched fingers. She froze, eyes burning, teeth clenched. Daniel slid onto the case, arms wrapping it tight to his chest. Ash skidded behind him, knees hitting pavement, one hand catching his shoulder for balance. For a fraction of a second, they had it, secured. Then the lean man crashed into Daniel full force. The impact was brutal. Daniel's back slammed concrete, head ringing, case trapped between them like an anchor. The operator's breath smelled of copper and coffee grounds. His grip was merciless, pinning Daniel's wrist. "Let it go," the man growled. Daniel spat blood into his eye. They rolled. Asphalt tore at Daniel's palms. Ash kicked at the man's ribs over and over until his grip faltered. Daniel heaved the case sideways, shoving it toward Rourke. But the man's hand shot out again, and Rourke fired his second shot. This one didn't miss. The holo operator jerked, collapsed sideways, clutching his shoulder as crimson bloomed against his jacket. Silence never comes clean. It came fractured, in gasps, in the shuffle of civilians finally realizing what they'd seen wasn't random violence. It came in the shriek of a mother pulling her child away, in the bark of a dog tugging its leash toward the blood. And then, faint but building, it came in sirens. Daniel's chest heaved. Ash knuckles were white around the case. Rourke stood, gun still level, rain sliding down his face. The vest woman was gone. Hoodie man, too, melted into the panicked crowd before the first cruiser lights flickered at the edge of the park. But the message had landed. The holo wasn't confined anymore. They had crossed into daylight, into city, into public space, and Salem would never be the same again. The sirens did not come in sequence. They converged. Daniel could feel it in his chest before he even registered the direction, the overlapping Doppler wails, scattering across the city grid, approaching from more than one vector. Somewhere to the south, a fire rig bellowed. To the west, high-pitched patrol units doubled over one another in pitch and rhythm. To the north, something deeper, lower, a federal-style wail. For years, Daniel had trained himself to separate sound from noise. It was the only way to survive patrol in a rural stretch where backup could be 40 minutes away. But now, in the hollowed-out heart of a fictional Oregon city that already felt overexposed, he could hear something layered beneath the sirens, chaos being arranged. Not random response. Directed convergence. Rourke's hand pressed hard to Daniel's shoulder as they ducked into the recessed entryway of an abandoned storefront. His voice was low, almost steady, but with a fracture Daniel caught instantly. They are not converging on the blast site. Daniel toned, blood still moving too fast in his ears. "What do you mean?" "They are vectoring on us." The public assault had detonated less than 9 minutes earlier. A precise strike, not wide enough to draw mass civilian casualties, but brutal enough to shake trust, to scatter officers and create an opening. Daniel had seen it in Rourke's eyes the second the blast wave hit. This isn't an attack. This is bait. Now, 9 minutes later, the trap was springing. They pushed deeper into the narrow back corridor of the building, boots cracking over tile warped by water damage. A busted neon sign still hung over the far door, the glass broken but the metal frame intact. Daniel's flashlight swept once, then killed, no reason to beacon themselves. They moved by memory and instinct. Rourke's radio was alive with overlapping calls, the dispatch center overwhelmed. Copy all units westbound. Need containment. Bomb squad staging. Negative confirmation on the... And then a new voice. Not dispatch. Not even law enforcement. Control this perimeter. The 2 subjects are armed. Repeat, subjects are armed. Approach with tactical posture. Daniel froze. That wasn't just infiltration of a frequency. That was insertion, live manipulation. They are scripting the narrative, Daniel whispered. Rourke's jaw flexed hard, but he didn't disagree. He swung his radio to Daniel. You hear that timbre? That's not in-city dispatch. That's a repeater. They are pushing it through a patch feed. Same tactic they use in Willow Creek. The words slipped before Daniel even processed them. He'd been holding the thought at arm's length all day. But here, in the middle of a converging siren net, the parallel was undeniable. Back then, too, the trail had frozen at the exact moment dispatch audio went dark. And when it came back up, the record showed something that had never actually been said. A suspect described with precision that didn't exist. A call flagged as false when it wasn't. The Holo had been writing scripts into the investigation from the start. They pushed out the rear of the building, emerging into a narrow alley. To the right, a chain-link gate rattled in the wind. To the left, dumpsters and the jagged echo of foot traffic 2 blocks over. Rourke didn't wait. He turned right, vaulted the gate in one practice sweep, and dropped to the other side. Daniel followed, his body protesting the old scar tissue but his muscle memory overriding it. On the far side, the world split into 3 things. The chase noise, sirens, radios, shouts. The silence beneath. The absence where civilians had cleared, a vacuum unnatural for this part of the city. The pulse inside Daniel's head, recognition that this wasn't improvisation. This was a net. Rourke crouched low near a rusted pickup. We can't keep running blind. They are driving the response. If we let them keep painting us, it won't matter where we go. They'll frame us. They already are. Daniel swallowed. So we need leverage. Fast. You got someone who'll pick up your call. Daniel knew the risk in that question. Every second on the phone could be a trace. But he also knew there was no way to turn the tide without someone in the chain. Someone who wouldn't just take the fed-in narrative at face value. One name surfaced before the others. Not Morgan Ash. Not Doyle. Captain Eliza Grant. Oregon State Police, Criminal Division. She hadn't spoken to Daniel in over 3 years. Not since his exit from the badge. Not since the investigation into a joint task force gone sideways. But Grant had always read static the same way he did. Listen for the missing frequencies. If anyone could put ballast under their story before the Holo buried them alive, it was her. The first attempt to dial her number was a mistake. The line popped, not a ring, not a busy, but a pop. Line manipulation. Daniel hung up instantly, fingers white on the phone. They are watching the cellular tree. Rourke's eyes narrowed. We need an analog pivot. Daniel pulled the field recorder from his pack, the same device recovered upstream that had nearly cost them their lives. Its drive had been cloned twice over, its data already partially unpacked. But more important right now, its embedded uplink was cut. The device was off-grid, except Daniel wasn't sure it was as dead as it looked. He turned it over, fingers tracing the scratch casing. You feel that? Rourke leaned close. A faint vibration. Subaudible. The recorder was still humming. Every hair on Daniel's neck rose. The Holo wasn't just listening. They were tracking with the very hardware Daniel had thought was a broken relic. They had been carrying a beacon. Rourke cursed low. We ditch it. Daniel hesitated. Ditching it meant losing the only verifiable chain of evidence they had. Every other recorder they'd recovered had either been corrupted or already in federal hands. This one, bruised, humming, compromised, was still the closest thing to uncut proof they had. If we drop it, they win, Daniel said. If we keep it, they find us. The sirens pressed closer, turning corners now, the sound reflecting off the canyon of buildings. Time was evaporating. Daniel pulled the recorder to his chest, eyes tight shut for 1/2 second. Then he moved. Compromise solution, he said. They broke across the street, ducked into a 2-story laundromat with glass already fractured from the blast shockwave. Daniel knelt hard behind the main dryer bank and ripped open the paneling. Inside, the guts of the machine were half-charred, but the steel drum was intact. He shoved the recorder deep inside, metal on metal, and slammed the hatch shut. A cage, a Faraday pocket. Not perfect, but enough. When he came up, Rourke was already scanning the front glass. They'll sweep this block in 5 minutes, maybe less. Daniel exhaled hard, body catching up to adrenaline. Then we use those minutes. He pulled out his notebook, not digital, not synced, not hackable. A worn paper ledger with notes in his own shorthand. He flipped fast, tearing a page free. On it, coordinates. Rural, far east of the city, near a stretch of river they'd passed 2 weeks earlier. Another site, another possible cache. It wasn't coincidence a holo had spiked this recorder alive. They wanted to flush him toward the next site, control the pace. But if Daniel already knew where the site was, if he moved on his own vector first, he could invert the trap. Rourke caught the look in his eyes. You're about to go off script. Daniel nodded. Only way to get back control. The sirens were on them now. Through the broken front glass, Daniel could see the first sweep of blue and red reflect across the street. Tires cut sharp. Doors slammed. The city was folding inward. And then the radio in Rourke's vest cracked again. Subjects last seen at Market in 10th. Male, Asian descent, approximately 40, dark jacket. Accompanied by white male, 50s, brown coat. Approach with lethal posture. Daniel froze. That wasn't just description. That was his exact profile, down to the jacket color. The holo wasn't leaving room for discretion anymore. They were marking him for elimination. He met Rourke's eyes. No words left to waste. 2 choices. Stand here and be taken, thrown into a system already poisoned by holo fingerprints. Or vanish. Vanish before the net closed. Vanish before the recorder chain was rewritten one final time. Sirens screamed louder. Boots hit pavement. A bullhorn cracked to life. Subjects inside. Come out with your hands visible. This is your last warning. Daniel's pulse locked. Every decision of his career felt like it led here to this fracture line. Stay with Rourke. Fight inside the perimeter. Trust a badge to hold. Or cut loose. Disappear into the static. Keep chasing the holo even if it meant becoming their fugitive. His hands flexed once. Twice. Then the comms erupted again. Not police this time. Not holo script. A third voice. Quiet. Precise. Cutting through like a blade. Daniel Cho. You've been on the wrong frequency since Willow Creek. Time to decide which channel you serve. You've just heard how the holo rewrote Salem's reality in broad daylight. But this is only the beginning. The erased calls, the false dispatches, the manipulated evidence, all of it points to a truth that refuses to stay hidden. Stay with us, because the next frequency may carry the answer. This is Unheard Evidence, where the fact speaks louder than words. Subscribe, like, and share.